This is how you kick off the biggest recruiting weekend of the regular season with a commitment. That's why we're here breaking news to you right now on Warchant.com, Warchant TV. He's Michael Langston, the senior recruiting analyst for Warchant.com and Warchant TV. My name is Tom Lang, and at the bottom of the screen, Michael, Florida State adds a blue chip defensive back to the class in the form of JAMARI Howard. Big day for the Noles on a Friday.
Very big. Miami Norland defensive back, 4-star JAMARI Howard officially commits to FSU. We kind of felt like this was coming eventually. Whenever it was popping, I already put in a pick certainly for FSU, and I think it's been trending that way ever since he took that visit. Right before the year started to FSU. It was a multi-day visit. Got a lot of South Florida kids already on the team. There was a connection, and there was just a lot about that FSU that he fell in love with. Certainly, Patrick Surtain is one that was a big deal in this recruitment because of what he's done in development and his history with development. I think that was a big deal, but also just the feeling he got at FSU was just different than any other place. I think early on, Florida was kind of slightly the leader after he had decommitted from Michigan State, but then we started to see the FSU visits kept coming. And he's not a kid that talks a lot, so he keeps to himself. But at the same time, he's certainly a dynamic player. Could do a lot of different things. Whether you put him at boundary or you put him at the nickel or safety, he can certainly do that. I think he's a cornerback when he comes up FSU, but I think he's just really good at tracking the ball. That's the thing. It's so excellent about his game. Very highly coveted guy that they wanted, and they had to work hard for this one because first you had to get the decommitment, and then once he decommitted, you had to battle one of your in-state rivals in Florida and even Miami to a certain degree of finishing it off. And just another big commitment from 305, a big one for FSU, and certainly kind of even boisters that class even higher because you already have 5-star KJ Bolden, 5-star Charles Lester, Ricky Knight, who I'm very high on, is another talented DB they have in this class. So they're just really fortifying probably one of their best DB classes they've had in a while.
Michael, yeah, again, this is a crowded backfield, defensive backfield. When you think about all the guys they brought in last year, and a lot of those guys are getting early playing time. Conrad Hussey leading the way there, but Quindarius Jones got some time last week against Pitt. Edwin Joseph has suffered a setback injury-wise, but he's been a player for Florida State who stood out. I mean, it just seems like in the span of 2 recruiting classes, they've completely overhauled this room to where they're going to have a bit of an embarrassment of riches if everybody closes out with this 2024 class and they sign on the dotted line. Can you talk about just how big of a deal this has been to bring in Patrick Surtain and the impact he's had on Florida State closing the deal with so many kids, especially now in South Florida?
I think it's massive just when you look at the kids that they're getting on campus. We'll do a preview later of this weekend, but you look at it, there's like I think 5-star kids that are coming in this weekend at that DB position. So I think that says a lot about what he attracts. He's a technician. I think kids have noticed that, and kids know who he is. I mean, whether you watched him and whether they watch tapes of him playing his playing days or just his teaching and coaching at the Miami Dolphins, coaching, winning all the state titles he did in American Heritage. I mean, kids know who this guy is, and so it's a dramatic effect when you get somebody that kind of has been there and done that, and these kids are trying to get to that point. And so when they see that, it's going to attract a lot of major attention. He's just been I said it before he was even hired. This is about as close a home run hire as you can get, and I think now we're kind of experiencing every angle of what that is, where it's recruiting or it's just development. I think the development part we expected, but I think the recruiting puff we didn't know how long it would take him to get his niche, and he certainly found it immediately when he got to FSU. I think guys like KJ Bolden and guys like Charles Lester, that was a significant impact on them of why they picked FSU. So if I'm Pat, we're talking about an extension or a raise pretty quickly because I think I'm doing a pretty good job. But I think overall he's killing it, and it just says a lot about just how DBs look at FSU to that standard of that DBU that we talk about with all the guys they have in the NFL. Now they're starting to magnify that standard.
Seems like, Michael, you or I could be Pat Surtain's agent at this point. It kind
Yeah.
of the extension and the number writes itself because of the performance and
Yep.
what he's been able to do. So, we're going to have a full breakdown for the weekend, and you're right about that. That's a separate video. But just in terms of this particular commitment and this year's defensive back room, do you get a sense that anybody gets antsy because there are too many from the same position group, committing to Florida State and getting into signing day next month? Or is this a welcome addition? Lester's on board with it, Bolden's on board with it, and everybody else is on board with it. What do you think?
I think they're just all kids that like competing. I don't sense that each one is bothered by any of them in there. I think all of them feel like they can bring a different skill set to, to kind of what FSU does. I think with KJ, he can play corner and safety. I think I feel very comfortable if I'm putting KJ out there at corner. I think with Charles, you could put him at nickel and do different things. He's really explosive in space. And I think with Ricky, he's kind of you can use him boundary or whatever, out inside. So I think all of them, the one characteristic all of them have is versatility. Every one of them, whether it's Jamari, Ricky, Charles, KJ, whoever it is, the versatility of these guys, because we've seen FSU. That's one dramatic thing we've seen is that they like to recruit guys that play multiple positions at, whether it's an offense line or defensive back. And I think certainly, there's got to be a certain skill set they look for that fits what they do. But I think overall, the versatility of these guys, I think it makes everyone comfortable. And and I think the other characteristic these guys have is they just want to compete. They want to go, they want to earn their spot, they want to be a part of this and contribute, and help them early. So I think certainly, I think all of them are excited to be here. All of them are going to be on campus this weekend. So I think that's kind of a cool thing that they can be around each other and kind of mesh it with their future teammates. But overall, I don't sense that one's going to affect or bother the other.
Yeah, you're talking about versatility and this program embracing that you can play multiple positions. Mike Norvell this week in Miami prep was asked about Ja'Kai Douglas playing outside receiver. He says, well, if I'm recruiting somebody to be just one thing, a slot or an outside, then I'm not doing my job. That's not what this program is about. It extends across the board to both sides of the football, and we're going to have more about this giant recruiting weekend. Florida State has one commitment in the fold and a lot of studs coming into campus, coming to Tallahassee this weekend. Michael, before we go, if you had to estimate the amount of players Florida State is hosting for this mega weekend, what's the number that you would estimate?
Probably around 115. That's kind of what I'm looking at total. Um, like I said, I've already added it up. There's going to be 10 5 stars on campus. And I can't even keep track of all the top 4 star or top 100 players that are going to be here, both for 24 and 2025. It's just an insane weekend. And I did an interview with On3 earlier, and I said, look, I mean, I've been doing this for 12 years, Warchant. Obviously, I'm born and raised in Tallahassee, and I've seen a lot of great recruiting weekends. As far as me working at Warchant, this is the most talent I've ever seen in a recruiting weekend, like just from sheer talent.
So then indulge us for a moment before we sign off, everybody, because if you haven't subscribed to Warchant and you are a Nole fan who's saying, all right, they're 9-0, you got my attention, I'm back. Here's how you join warchant.com for all the inside knowledge. 50% off your first year. This is for new subscribers only. We're going to give you half off an annual subscription to warchant.com. Folks, within the first 72 hours with the coverage that Michael's about to bring to the table, it is going to pay for itself. So head over to the website, warchant.com, for more information from Michael. And stay tuned. We're going to have a video on this channel today previewing this weekend with a whopping count of 115 visitors. Hit that like button underneath. Michael just brought you great news. So hit that like button underneath and subscribe to the channel. It's absolutely free. Until next time, this is Michael Langston, Tom Lang on Warchant TV. We'll talk to you later today.